due to recognition. This is okay. One of my favorite quotes of all time of Diderot. Diderot said this about Voltaire. Other historians relate facts to inform us of facts. You, however, relate them in order to excite in our hearts a profound hatred of lying, ignorance, hypocrisy, superstition, fanaticism, and tyranny. And this anger remains even after the memory of the facts has disappeared. I never heard the fanaticism part, but I could be down with fuck lying, fuck ignorance, fuck hypocrisy, fuck superstition, and fuck tyranny. Fanaticism, what? People just being crazy about dumb shit? Well, fuck them too. And so the point of being a historian isn't so much of just to teach people names and dates, but to teach them to hate the bullshit. Hate the unjust bullshit, the fucking lying, ignorant hypocrisy, the superstitious, fanatical, tyrannical bullshit. So, fantastic quote, fantastic quote. I want to focus on this quote from the Bible. So we're going to do a little Bible reading today. So I'm going to focus on this little quote called the Bible, right? This little quote where it says, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. And what that's supposed to mean is, my God, why have you forsaken me? When Jesus was on the cross, this comes from Matthew. So nowhere else, right? Not Matt, not Luke, not John. They didn't hear Jesus say this, but Matthew heard Jesus say, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? So there you go. Jesus is a looking ass revolutionary. Now he's crying out to Elijah. Who the hell is Elijah? Elijah the prophet? Well, Elijah the prophet comes from the book of Kings in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. Elijah, he's a prophet and a miracle worker who lived in the northern kingdom of Israel during the reign of King Ahab. In 1 Kings 18, Elijah defended the worship of the Hebrew God over that of the Canaanite deity Baal. He was born in 900 BC in Tishbe. His nickname is the Troubler of Israel, and his parents are Sobach. So I guess Sobach is unisex and can just reproduce just like Mary without any partner. So that's Elijah. So you have Jesus, who's on the cross and he's dying, right? Jesus, the God, the Son of God, who's calling out to Elijah, not to God, calling out to the prophet of the Bible. This is the last person he is thinking of before he dies. He doesn't say, God the Father, why have you forsaken me? Why don't you help me? He says, Elijah the prophet, why have you forsaken me? Help me, Elijah. So to talk about life, we've got to begin with death, right? We just had the birth of Jesus, Christmas, and then Easter is going to be the death of Jesus. Is anybody actually talking about the death of Jesus? Because the death of Jesus, I feel like the biggest difference between me and religious people are our views on death. They welcome death. That's when they're going to, go to paradise and it's going to be wonderful and glorious and nothing on this earth and this planet matters. It's only about, well, that's some bullshit. Fuck you, motherfuckers. I think that humans are only here for a short period. We're only here for a short while. Death is the enemy of humankind. So since we're only here for a short while, that's why you see a burst of creativity. But death is the enemy of mankind. It's going to be the enemy of me until death's will beats mine. So we're all gods. We're all gods when it comes to, man's ideal. We're the ones that created all these gods, and we created them to say, what can man become? What can we become? What is our ideal? So if you don't believe that we're all gods and you don't believe in the potential of man. Now let's get into it. So we got the Bible here, right? Matthew 27:45. This is the death of Jesus. From noon onward, darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. About 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some of the bystanders who heard it said, this one is calling for Elijah. Immediately one of them ran to get a sponge. He soaked it in wine and putting it on a reed, gave it to him to drink. But the rest said, wait, let us see if Elijah comes to save him. But Jesus cried out again in a loud voice and gave up his spirit. And behold, the veil of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked. Rocks were split. Tombs were opened, and the bodies of many saints who had fallen asleep were raised. Coming forth from their tombs after his resurrection, they entered the holy city and appeared to many. The centurion and the men with him who were keeping watch over Jesus feared greatly when they saw the earthquake and all that was happening. And they said, truly, this was the Son of God. There are many women there looking on from a distance who had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him. Among them were Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. So there you go. That's the death of Jesus from Matthew 27, book whatever to book whatever, book 27 to, so there you go. So what's happening here? He's on the cross. He says, Eli, Eli, you piece of shit. God the Father's trying to fucking murder me. Eli, come here quick. Eli, even you have forsaken me. Even Eli, even Elijah. You know, we know why God has forsaken Jesus, right? He's a selfish piece of shit. Sent Jesus' son down to earth. He don't give a shit, right? He's sitting up in the fucking clouds and he sent his kid to do his dirty work. Jesus fucking Christ. God damn it, Jesus fucking Christ. So he's sitting there saying, why are you forsaking me, Elijah? Some says, well, let's see if Elijah shows up. Let's see if Elijah shows up, Then one of them ran to get a sponge. He soaked it in wine, put it on a reed. They all say this, right? And is there no water back in the, 1850s or what year was this written? So behold, and then all that other shit. As soon as he dies, all that other shit in Matthew happens, right? Earthquakes and the bodies of the saints and the rocks were split and the veil of the sanctuary. Okay, a bunch of insanity, right? A bunch of insanity. So I feel like I can believe, up to a part and then kind of skip over that crazy shit. And then, there were witnesses. There were witnesses, right? There were people that was around. There was a witness. They saw. So the death of Jesus, Mark. Okay, so why am I talking about any of this? We're going to talk some Luke, we're going to talk some Mark, and we're going to talk some John, all about the death of Jesus. The reason why I'm talking about this is because of atheist Christianity. You got this philosopher, Slavoj Zizek. He's, I don't know, some author. He goes around giving speeches and shit. Well, this Slavoj Zizek, he had said something about atheist Christianity. And he said all the Enlightenment thinkers were sitting there talking about atheist Christianity. And he had said that, ultimately it has to do with God sending man. The man gets killed. And you're supposed to think it was man that got killed. Man killed man. But it was actually man killing God. And so Jesus is God. Once Jesus has been killed, then you as the individual, you say, God, why have you forsaken me? Bam, now you're an atheist. Why has God forsaken all of us, according to Christianity? Because of free will, because of freedom. God went ahead and created all of us, and then he took a step back and let us have free will. Anything can happen. Anything can go. So that's, both fucked up, and it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. So I grew up as, an obedient Catholic, Boy Scout, honor roll, Boy Scout. I was, probably overly obedient. Now, it's kind of crazy because I'm an atheist today. And me being raised the way that I was raised has given me terrible reflexes. During periods of crisis, I find myself praying to God. I find myself reaching out. Hey, oh shit, right? Dear God, you need to help. God, I'm in a situation. Oh my God. What the fuck? But see, I have these terrible reflexes, right? But I know that I'm a rational, animal. I'm endowed with reason. So there is no God. So what the fuck am I doing? Why am I, what I'm doing is I'm scared. I'm in a situation which, seems, so I'm in a period of crisis. I'm looking to God for answers. He's nowhere to be found. So therefore God's forsaken me. And then I realize it's just me out here. So when an atheist finds himself praying to God because of a bad situation, they've got to figure out that it's on them and themselves only to get out of it. And that's freedom. That's free will. So it's fucked up because if you don't make that next step, that next logical step, then you'll just be on this endless loop. So, right? When I'm like, God, where are you at? Elijah, why have you forsaken me? Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. Jesus was on the cross. He was forsaken when he was on the cross, right before the day, right before the moment he dies. Right before the moment he dies. So this isn't the representation of the death of man, but it's the death of God. God is nowhere to be found. Jesus is by himself. He's reaching out to Eli, a prophet, saying, why have you forsaken me? Eli, because he's already given up on God the Father. So man didn't kill, the Son of Man. Man killed the Son of God. God's dead, and man is alone. And since man is alone, whatever you do on this planet, whatever is going to be done, is up to you and you alone. And so, like I said, it's bittersweet. It's both a blessing and a curse. If you don't make that next logical leap, then you'll get nowhere. But if you're like, you know what? God is fucking nowhere. He has forsaken me. That's both, that's terrible, all boo fucking who. But it's beautiful because it's freedom. When you're sitting there saying you're in a period of crisis and you want somebody to do something for you, but they're not going to do it, so it's got to be you. It's got to be you. That's the price of freedom. You got to be responsible for your own welfare. So yeah, I love this concept of atheist Christianity. Jordan Peterson has taken this atheist Christianity pretty serious because of the Slavoj Zizek. So atheist Christianity, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. How come Elijah abandoned you, Jesus? Because Elijah's been dead for, 1,000 years. The fuck you doing talking to goddamn dead people? Fucking Jesus. That'd be like me calling out for, fucking Caesar. Julius Caesar. Why have you forsaken me? Julius Caesar, what the hell's your damn problem? Goddamn Julius Caesar. Alexander the Great, you son of a bitch. Why have you forsaken me, Alexander the Great? Alexander the Grape, how come you have forsaken me? All right, let's talk about Mark 15:33. So Mark 15:33 is the death of Jesus. Again, at noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. The exact same thing. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, which is translated, my God, why have you forsaken me? So both Matthew and Mark have Eli. Well, actually, it's got E-L-O-I, Eloi. Who is this Eloi? So he's talking to Eli and Elijah and Matthew, and now he's talking to Eloi. Who the hell is Eloi? We'll pretend it's Eli for the time being. Some of the bystanders who heard it said, look, he is calling Elijah. One of them ran, soaked a sponge with wine, put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink, saying, wait, let us see if Elijah comes to take him down. Well, that's a little bit differently. That the same person that gave Jesus the, sponge, the wine-soaked sponge, is also the one that says, let's see if Elijah comes to take him down. It wasn't the same person in Matthew. It is the same person in Mark. So the guy that gives him wine says, wait, let us see if Elijah comes to take him down. Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. He gave a loud cry and he breathed his last. That's how he died in Matthew. He gave a loud cry. It says here that Jesus cried out again in a loud voice and then gave up his spirit. And then the earthquakes and the rocks split and everything else. The veil of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom when the centurion who stood facing him saw he breathed his last, said, "Truly, this man was the Son of God." Well, where's the earthquakes and the rocks breaking and shit? There were also women looking on from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of the younger James and of Joses, and Salome. These women had followed him when he was in Galilee and ministered to him. There were also many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem. So how come they say Mary, the mother of James and Joses? How come not, Mary, the mother of God, Mary, the mother of Jesus? Are these different Marys? And this says Mary, the mother of James and of Joses. Is Joseph supposed to be Joseph? Because in the beginning, it was just, Mary, the son of, Mary, the son of, whatever. It was just a Joses, right? So Mary, the mother of James and Joseph. So James and Joseph, who the hell is this Joses? And then who the hell is this Salome? Salome? Mary, the mother of the younger James and of Joses, and Salome. There was no Salome in the beginning. And when in the beginning in Matthew, it talked about the mother of the sons of Zebedee. So where is Zebedee's widow? Where is Zebedee's widow at? They said there was a lot of women following him, so perhaps that's the reasons for the discrepancy. But Mark, where is the damn earthquakes? You didn't write down exactly what Matthew had said. So he is not a very good plagiarizer. Not a very good plagiarizer at all. So there's several parts to Mark versus Matthew, right? Essentially, it's the same story. God, why have you forsaken me? Eli, Eli, lemi sabachthani. And what language is that? Eli, Eli, lemi sabachthani. It sounds like Creole. But you have death of Jesus. Happened the same time. You got the eclipse, right? Noon to 3. It all turns dark. That's not how eclipses work. You can't have an eclipse for just 3 days. It's probably just thick cloud cover, right? You had a bunch of thick cloud cover. And then when he's crying out to Eli, Eli, why have you forsaken me? It almost reminds me of like George Floyd crying out for his mother, right? Mother, where are you at? Mother, where are you at? But perhaps that's the moment that, the moment before death. You just turn around and you say that to the one that you love the most. Where the hell were you, you son of a bitch? Eli, Eli, lemi sabachthani. Eli, Eli, lemi sabachthani. So we had the, wine-soaked sponge. He waited for Eli, the same guy. Salome, Joses, I don't know where Zebedee's widow is. So some discrepancies there. But we get the same gist. We get the same, essential point. Now let's talk about the parable tenant farmers from Luke. Apparently Jesus is a pacifist, right? He's a pacifist. Turn the other cheek and never do no harm and this and that. Well, with the parable of the tenant farmers, it's interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and just read this to you verbatim. The authority of Jesus' question, Luke chapter 20, verse 1. One day as he was teaching the people in the temple area and proclaiming the good news, the chief priests and scribes together with the elders approached him and said to him, "Tell us, by what authority are you doing these things? Or who is the one who gave you this authority?" Jesus, the Christ, he said to them in reply, "I shall ask you a question. Tell me, was John's baptism of heavenly or human origin?" They discussed this among themselves and said, "If we say of heavenly origin, he will say, 'Why did you not believe him?' But if we say of human origin, then all the people will stone us, for they are convinced that John was a prophet." So they answered that they did not know where it came. Then Jesus the Christ said, "Well, then neither shall I tell you by what authority I do these things." The parable of the tenant farmers, Luke chapter 20, verse 9. Then Jesus the Christ proceeded to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard, leased it to tenant farmers, and then went on a journey for a long time. At harvest time, he sent a servant to the tenant farmers to receive some of the produce of the vineyard, but they beat the servant and sent him away empty-handed. So he proceeded to send another servant, but him Also, they beat and insulted and sent away empty-handed. Then he proceeded to send a third, but this one too they wounded and threw out. The owner of the vineyard said, "What shall I do? I shall send my beloved son. Maybe they will respect him." But when the tenant farmers saw him, they said to one another, "This is the heir. Let us kill him so that the inheritance may become ours." So they threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. What will the owner of the vineyard do to them? He will come and put those tenant farmers to death and turn over the vineyard to others. The word of the Lord. That's what Jesus says. When the people heard what Jesus had said, they exclaimed, "Let it not be so." But Jesus, the Christ, looked at them all. And he asked them, "What does this scripture passage mean? The stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The stone which the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Everyone who falls on that stone will be dashed to pieces, and it will crush anyone whom it falls." The scribes and chief priests sought to lay their hands on Jesus the Christ at that very hour, but they feared the people, for they knew that he had addressed this parable to them. So, the whole point of that parable is when God the Father sends the Son to go do his own damn job and they kill the Son, well, the Father has to kill the damn tenant farmers. The Father has to kill the damn tenant farmers. He don't have a damn choice. He don't have a goddamn choice. Jesus Christ, that's what Jesus Christ says. Jesus the Christ says it. Jesus fucking Christ. God damn. So that's just interesting that's typically not what I think about the pacifist that is Jesus the Christ. Jesus is like, well, sometimes motherfucker gotta kill motherfucker. Now let's go to Luke. He talks about the death of Jesus here. Book 23, verse 44. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. because of the eclipse of the sun. Well, it explains it here. Then the veil of the temple is torn down the middle. Jesus cried out in a loud voice. Well, the veil of the temple torn from the middle before he died. So Luke is getting the order all wrong. The veil, is torn after. Jesus cries out in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." Wait a second. And when he said this, he breathed his last. The centurion who witnessed what had happened. Why do we have centurion? I've never heard that fucking word in my life. And here I've said it 3 times. The centurion, also, what the hell? The sprig. They're going to give him a sprig of something, a sprig of hyssop. It wasn't a reed, it was a sprig of hyssop. What the fuck is a sprig of hyssop? I don't know. I'm just, I was just doing what they were telling. I didn't read the damn Bible. Anyways, okay, so death of Jesus. He witnessed what had happened, glorified God, and said, "This man was innocent beyond doubt." Or this man was righteous beyond doubt. That's what the centurion had said. When all the people who had gathered for the spectacle saw what had happened, they returned home beating their breast. But all of his acquaintances stood at a distance, including the women who had followed him from Galilee and saw these events. So the biggest difference here is that there is no "Eli, Eli, why have you forsaken me? Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani." "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." So if I just want the religious to be dumb and obedient, well, just listen to this part. Don't at the moment of your fucking death start crying about "why have you forsaken me" and shit. You just got to accept death and just roll with the punches, right? Just breathe your last breath. Don't cry out to Eli, "why have you forsaken?" It's not Eli's problem. It's not Alexander the Great's problem. It's not Santa Claus's problem. It's your problem, motherfucker. Why has Santa Claus forsaken you? Because Santa Claus don't exist, motherfucker. So this Luke passage says, "Father, into your hands I commend my spirit." Well, that's a much easier way to accept death. Why, even mention that God or Eli or any of the prophets has forsaken poor Jesus, right? Oh, poor Jesus. Boo fucking who, you little crybaby bitch, motherfucker. Jesus is what? Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. He's a looking-ass revolutionary. Jesus is a looking-ass revolutionary. Now, Barabbas, I didn't realize that Barabbas was a revolutionary. This comes from John chapter 19. it says that Barabbas is a goddamned revolutionary. It says it at the end of 18 too. Now Barabbas was a revolutionary. Then Pilate took Jesus, had him scourged. The soldiers wove a crown out of thorns and placed it on his head and clothed him in a purple cloak. They came to him and said, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they struck him repeatedly. Once more Pilate went out and said to them, "Look, I am bringing him out to you so that you may know I find no guilt in him." So Jesus came out wearing the crown of thorns and the purple cloak, and he said to them, "Behold the man." When the chief priest and the guards saw him, they cried out, "Crucify him, crucify him." Pilate said to them, "Take him out yourselves and crucify him, because I find no guilt in him." Then the Jews answered, right? It was the Jews that killed him. So fucking anti-Semitic. The Bible, God, the Bible is so anti-Semitic. We have a law, and according to that law, he ought to die because he made himself the Son of God. Okay, so Pontius Pilate didn't think that there was any guilt in Jesus. That reminds me of Rogel and that damn judge, Alan Bruce. So that damn judge and that Alan Bruce... So that damn judge and that Alan Bruce, what they did is they went ahead and said Rogel deserves 110 years of, jail cell. 110 years. 110 years. And the judge acted like he was powerless to stop it. The law forced him to give him a sentence of 110 years. Motherfucker, nobody forced you to do shit. The judge is acting like the law forced him to sentence him to 110 years in jail. He's powerless to stop it. So Rogel, the Cuban immigrant, the car wreck that killed 4 people, right? So Pontius Pilate is acting like that. I've got no power. I don't find any guilt in him, but you do. So I'm just going to give Jesus to you. So let's get to the final chapter here so that way we don't. So here's the death of Jesus according to John. This is what the soldiers did. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister. When Jesus saw his mother, mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary of Magdala. So that's his aunt? Okay, so when Jesus saw his mother and the disciple there whom he loved, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour the disciple took her into his home. After this, aware that everything was now finished in order that the scripture might be fulfilled, Jesus said, "I thirst." There was a vessel filled with common wine, so they put a sponge soaked in wine on a sprig of hyssop and put it up to his mouth. When Jesus had taken the wine, he said, "It is finished." And bowing his head, he handed over the spirit. So, I thirst. He doesn't say, "I'm thirsty." He talks like an asshole, right? I thirst. And then again with the sponge soaked in wine. And then they add the sprig of hyssop. And then after he takes the wine, he says, "It is finished. It is finished. It's over. It's all over." And then he died. So the last words of Jesus are not, is it Eli, Eli, lemi sabachthani, or is it something else? Let's just make sure I've got everything covered there. That's, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John on the death of Jesus. Pilate said he wasn't guilty. I thirst. These days, everybody's thirsty, huh? Okay. So the last words, "It is finished." Then he handed over his spirit. He died, right? He didn't say, "Father." He didn't say, "Eli, why have you forsaken me?" But he just handed his spirit over. He was just like, "Here's my spirit." And then he handed the spirit on over to somebody else. And the Bible, huh? Jesus Christ. I think my favorite thing about the Bible is that the best defense against the dumb shit is to read it. If you read the damn Bible, you never read it, huh? And if you're going to worship a book, then you know what? The best book to be worshipped is one full of contradictions. If you have a book that's full of contradictions, and that's the book that you choose to be your, central book that everybody must worship. The reason why that's genius is when you have nothing but contradictions that force the people that's reading your book to figure out life for themselves. And then once again, atheist Christianity. God sent Jesus to die on the cross. God is dead. It's up to you to figure it out yourself. Jesus was on the cross when God forsaked him and Eli forsaked him. It was on Jesus to save himself. Did he save himself? No, he just sat there and died like a looking ass revolutionary, right? And then Barabbas, I thought Barabbas was a thief. There's a lot of propaganda out there. Them goddamn nuns lied to me. I thought Barabbas was a thief, but he's a revolutionary? So, R.I.P. Barabbas.